Good morning and welcome to our seminar of today. Thank you to all of the attendees that are here with us and to Co-Lumina Coaching for joining us to speak about sales techniques for humans, not salespeople. To address these matters, we have here today Carolina Perez, owner and founder from Co-Lumina. Carolina has 20 years of diverse international experience as a communication consultant and executive coach. At her own Madrid-based consulting firm, she helped clients polish their message delivery and executive presence across a broad range of industries and situations. She was the speech coach for Radio Televisión Española and worked with UPS, Mafre, FedEx, and Barclays, among others. In July 2019, she settled in Miami and started Co-Lumina Coaching. Today's webinar will last about 1 hour, followed by questions. If you have any question, you can send it to us through the control panel you have in your right, and you can send the questions at any time during the presentation, which will be answered at the end of the webinar. This webinar is going to be recorded, and we will be sharing the video and presentation in a follow-up email after we've finished. We want to encourage all of the attendees to visit our website and check all of the activities that will be taking place in the following weeks. With all that said, Carolina, ready when you are.
Okay, thank you very much. Show my screen. So I assume everybody's seeing my screen right now, my presentation. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you, Arantxa, for the presentation. Yes, I am going to talk about sales techniques for humans, not salespeople. And why do I make
Excuse me, Carolina.
Yes?
The screen we are seeing is the second screen. I guess you're working with two screens. So if you could switch that, because we're on the presenter's view.
Oh, thank you for saying this. Okay, so maybe here. How about now? No.
No.
Okay. I'm very sorry. So I'll take down the second screen and that's it. How about now? Is it working?
Perfect. Yeah,
okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me know, Gabriel, and I'm so sorry for this inconvenience. So yes, I was saying, why do I make this distinction between sales techniques for humans and not for salespeople? And it comes down to my own experience. When I was starting my business back more than 20 years ago in Spain, I realized that I had to sell, and I had this idealized picture of what a salesperson is. And a salesperson for me was somebody who was able to sell anything to anyone, like sand in the desert. And I didn't know how to do that. I didn't have the sales techniques that I needed to do that type of prowess. I didn't have the skills. I was just an expert in my field. And now, many years later, I have come to realize that it's not about sales techniques, actually. It's about your mindset, what you think and what you think about the prospects or the clients who are in front of you. And that's exactly what I want to cover with you today. So this workshop is for you if you are not a sales professional, but your job needs for you to sell. So for example, you're like me, a coach, and you have to sell your services. You find it hard to talk about money. That doesn't need any explanation, I think. There's a lot of taboo around talking about money, and many people hate saying numbers related to money. So if this is your case, you're in the right place. Also, and that this I've heard a lot in my sales trainings when I deliver sales trainings for companies or sales teams. You become friends with your prospects, and then it's very difficult to ask them for money or to ask them for their business. I don't know if that's happened to you. Also, I believe people find it hard to say no. And I start to think about, oh, I want to ask for this price, but they may say no, and they're going to feel uncomfortable, and they're going to feel sorry for me if they have to say no to me. So, and all those things start talking in my head, and it's not productive. And the last thing, or one thing, this workshop is for you if you fear damaging the relationship when you ask for the business. That I've also heard a lot. Like you wouldn't make business with your businesses with your, you wouldn't do business with your friends, right? Well, why not? So to summarize, this work is for you if you're human, and I assume you all are humans here, so welcome. I'm glad to be here to talk with you today. The first thing that I would like for you to do is to set your goals and expectations for this workshop. What is it exactly that you want to take out of today's workshop? It can be, I want to build my business, I want to build a 7-figure coaching business, whatever. Well, that's a goal for life, not for today's workshop, but you get the idea. I also want you to reflect for a little bit in what your strengths as a person are. And that's very important because a lot of times we think, oh, that's arrogant. I cannot speak about my own strengths. You tell me, I don't know, what do you think? But if we don't do this exercise, we are not going to understand what we're missing in order to make that leap until towards better performance, right? So I want you to think and reflect as a human being, what are your strengths? And then, of course, what aspects you need to develop and improve in order to bridge that gap, in order to become more competent and more confident, I would say, in your sales. All right. So please write those down. You don't have to share them with us. Okay. So let's start. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about two main aspects of being a human. What drives us, what motivates us to do things, what are the things that we have in our minds that help us move towards what we want, and what we fear. So the human motivators, the human fears, what we run away from, what we don't want to see, what scares us. In other words, as I said, what we go towards and what we run away from. So here, Gabriel, if you could share the poll. We have prepared a poll. So if everybody can select 3 of the things, of the sentences that you're going to see about what are your fears when it comes to selling. When you think about sales, when you think about making that sales call or going into that sales meeting, what are your biggest fears? So, Gabriel, if you can share that.
Yeah, they're voting now, Carolina.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, how long should we wait?
Just 10 more seconds for
Okay.
the last to vote, and that will be it.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll talk about the results a little further down the road. So let's start with what motivates what humans want. And this is pretty much being, this has been identified by psychologists, anthropologists, sociologists. There are three main things that humans want. And those three main things that humans want, basic principles, are, oh, what's going on? Okay. Pain. I want to avoid pain at all costs. I'll do anything in order to avoid pain. Then I want pleasure. I want to seek pleasure. I want everything to be likable, right? And then preservation. I want to preserve my energy, my resources, my money, my time, everything that's a resource for me. So those three main principles of human behavior are what anthropologists call the motivational triad, and it drives every single behavior that we have. And it drives your behavior as salespeople or people who have to sell, and it drives your clients' behaviors. So as we were going to see later on, there will be a tension between what you want and what they want, because you want the same thing, but from opposite sides. So let's unpack this a little bit. Oh, sorry, going backwards. What's going on? I'm very sorry. Okay, preservation. Preservation. I want to keep what I already have, which means, of course, I don't want to spend money, or I want to spend as little money as I can. I don't want to do complicated things, so the easiest, the better. And I don't want to spend a lot of time doing things. I want things that are fast and sweet, short and sweet, as they say here, right? So when I think about here, we have our sales professional and our customer here. When we think about that moment when both persons are together in a room or on the phone or whatever, we can think that you, as a person who needs to sell, want the customer or the prospect to separate from some of their resources. You are wanting them to give you your money, your attention, your time, right? So your desire is to spend little time doing it, to spend little effort doing it, and to spend little energy doing it. And at the same time, helping them or making them or having them separate from those resources. And of course, what they want is exactly the opposite. They don't want to give you time, they don't want to give you attention, and they don't want to give you money, right? So the customer is saying, another meeting, really, I'm exhausted. And you're saying, probably you're saying the same thing if you do this a lot, sales meetings, but in reality, or at the same time, you're also excited about the prospect of meeting somebody new or making a sale or whatever. So you're excited about getting those resources that you want your prospect to be separated from. But then here's a tension, right? There's you want different things. It's a tug of war. You want different things from opposite sides. What do you have to do then to bridge that gap? Well, you have to make it easy on them. You have to make it easy to understand what you're selling, what you're proposing. You have to make it easy on them to decide whether they want your business or not, or your service or product. And you want to make it easy for them to be separated from the resource of money. So this principle I call ease, and it's going to be our #1 principle here. So if we think about, you're doing the pitch, can be a proposal, a written proposal, or you can be speaking to somebody in a room. You have to remember that the form of the pitch needs to be easy to understand. So be concise, short, and clear. If it's a written proposal, write 1 page. 1 page is best. 1 page is better than 2 pages, and 1 paragraph is better than 1 page. Always, the shorter, the better. And what is the content of the pitch that you have to share? You have to let them know how your product will make their life easier, right? So I'm sure if you've been a salesperson, or if you've done any sale training, or if you've been involved in a sale or a buy, if you have ever bought something, you understand this because you've lived it. You've lived through it. You've heard salespeople telling you how easy a car is to drive, or how easy a machine is to operate. That is because we are tackling, or we are responding to that need of preserving energy, time, and resources in general. All right. So let's move to pleasure. We are seeking pleasure all the time. You are seeking pleasure. Your customers are seeking pleasure. And pleasure is in anywhere. It can be anywhere. It doesn't mean you are always striving to surround yourself with beautiful art and beautiful things all the time, but you seek a sort of a kind of beauty, if you want, in your life, which means things you want things to be smooth and kind, nice, right? That's what you want. So we have, again, our sales professional, yourself, and the customer. And so the customer is thinking, oh my God, I have to speak with this person. I'm hoping that it will be at least an enjoyable conversation. And you are thinking, oh my God, I hope they're very nice to talk to, because otherwise I'm gonna have a very difficult time, right? So in this case, it's easier because you want the same thing, more or less. So how can you help? Well, you have to be enjoyable to talk to. You have to smile. And this is our second principle, beauty. You have to smile. You have to be friendly. If you can, you have to be fun if you can. So it's about helping the customer or the prospect to relax, to feel interested in the conversation. So one of the questions in the poll that we had, and we removed because we couldn't fit them all, was, I'm afraid that the customer will take charge of the conversation and then I won't be able to explain my product in all detail. Well, of course, and that's a good thing, because if the client takes charge, they're going to be talking about something that interests them more, which is themselves. And this is also a principle that I want to share with you today. It's the principle that everybody's favorite topic, conversation topic, is themselves. So ask questions, listen to them, let them talk, and then you'll be making a happy customer, a happy prospect, because he'll find, or they'll find, more beauty in that conversation, more joy in that conversation. So in terms of the content of the pitch, what you should be telling them, what's the message, is you're going to be so bright. The future with my product looks so bright, right? So you're going to be happy with my product. Everything will look great with my product. And that's what advertisement does, right? I remember, I don't know, advertisement of men's cologne, and then you saw that amazing super packed man on a motorcycle, and then a lot of super beautiful women around him. Like, oh, when you buy my cologne, you're going to be surrounded by all this power and beauty for the future, right? So that's the power of the principle of seeking pleasure. And then the most important, the most critical aspect of the human behavior motivator, which is to avoid pain. And this is very important because ultimately, the ultimate pain would be death. So your brain has a part that helps you avoid death, right? It's very famously called the lizard brain or the survivor brain. So it's the part of your brain that, for example, makes you look both sides when you're going to cross the street, because you never know, right? Or it's that part of your brain that helps you prepare for every single type of risk that you can think of. So you have that part in your brain. And of course, again, the customer has that part in their brain. And when they think about, oh, I have to go to a sales meeting, a customer, especially some customers whose job is to interview salespeople, for example, because they work at a company and they have to select vendors or whatever type of person who is all the time in sales meetings, that's going to be a pain for them. And on your side, it's going to be painful if they say no to you, right? So you have the same pain again on opposite sides. What is the solution? What is the way to bridge that gap? Well, they have a pain, not the sales meeting, but a more deeper pain, or a pain, or a longer lasting pain. And you're there to help them solve that pain. Okay. So the third principle when it comes to pain is to be the solution. So the form of the pitch, should be generous. I've heard a lot of times people saying, "Oh yeah, I know how to solve your problem. I will tell you when you give me the money," right? You see a lot of those webinars like this one when they say, yeah, at the end, if you stay till the end, I will give you the key. Well, that's not being generous, and that's very annoying, right? So you have to show them that you really can solve the problem from the beginning. I don't mean to give your work for free, of course, but to give them some clues. For example, if you're a coach like me, what I do in my sales calls is to offer a sample session. So I'll give you one session for free, so you can experiment truly in yourself how the solution that I'm offering is going to solve your pain. And the content of the pitch here is very important. And I think this is the most important aspect of the messaging in a pitch. And it's, your pain is big, and my solution will help you avoid it. And therefore, my solution is priceless because your pain is big. And here, I would love to talk about something else that I'm not going to delve into, which is spin selling. Maybe you're familiar with that. Spin selling is about making the client or the prospect understand and feel how important it is for them to solve the pain that they have. If the pain is truly not very important, they're not going to be spending any time, energy, or money in solving that pain because it's not important. And a lot of times, the client may be thinking that their problem is not that big because they only see the surface of the problem, like the tip of the iceberg. And your job is to let them know, to make them aware of how important your pain is, or their pain is, right? So, for example, if they say, yeah, well, you know, in my company, we have a lot of turnover, people leave, but that's not a big deal. No, that's not a big deal. So my job as a salesperson selling coach services would be to dig deep into what are the implications of people leaving the job after only maybe 1.5 years. What are the costs that you incur when people leave? What happens to you personally, you HR person, when so many people are leaving your company? What happens to the reputation of the company? What happens to your job? Is your job secure when so many people are leaving? And that would allow me to say, okay, so I have the solution for you. If we coach a lot of people in your company, we are going to be able to reduce the turnover because we are going to increase the engagement. People will be happier, and your job is secure at the end of the day, and you'll be great in your company. Okay, so that's the job of, that's the function of talking about how big your pain is. Okay, so let's move on to pain. We talked about the importance of pain, of identifying the pain in the client. And of course, the principle of preservation doesn't apply to you, salesperson, when you're talking about pain, because you have to make a lot of effort in order to understand what the pain is. And maybe it's even, sometimes people tell me it feels very painful and difficult to ask that type of questions to the customers because they feel intimate. Like, people will say, oh, I don't want to respond to that to you. And it's true, it's difficult, but it's worth it. It's worth the effort. So pain is what humans run away from. And here I would love to hear about the poll results, if we can. How can I see them?
Co-Lumina, you have the chat.
Okay. Well, it turns out I can't open the chat box. I don't know why. Can you read me the main three fears that people have shared? Ooh. No, I don't know what's going on, but I can't access. What?
Look, 58% said lacking good sales techniques.
Okay.
53% said the prospect says no, and
Okay.
52% said not delivering on promises and expectations. 26% said asking for money, and nobody said losing credibility if the price is too low.
Okay, interesting. That's interesting. Okay, thank you very much for your responses. So when I Googled what fears about selling, almost 90 million results came up. So it's real that people are afraid to sell. And as many of you said, lacking good sales techniques is a real fear that a lot of people have. What else? Failing to deliver on promises, losing the prospect if the price is too high, losing credibility. Okay, nobody said this. In my experience selling services, I've found this a lot, not only for myself, which I have, but also I've worked with different companies and different sales teams, and that happened a lot. Like, if I say a price and that's too low for the expectation of a certain status from the customer, people will think I'm not experienced enough, or I'm not as successful because I'm asking for too little money for my services. So that means that I'm desperate or something. But if that's not your sensation, that's perfectly fine. And what's going on here? Losing command of the conversation, nobody said that, but it's also a fear. Making the client uncomfortable, asking for money, sounding greedy, and being rejected. I put those three fears on the same line because I thought it's like a triad. If I ask for money, I'm going to sound greedy. If I sound greedy, people may reject me. And if I'm rejected, what am I? I'm out of the tribe, right? And then I'm also afraid of hurting the relationships sometimes. Like I've built rapport with a prospect. I've been working on a certain prospect or lead for some time. And then the moment comes that I have to ask for the business. What will happen? Will they resent me because they think I'm only after their money, right? So that I've heard sometimes as well. And of course, hearing no. Nobody wants to hear no. It's again being rejected. If they say no to my idea, it's like they're saying no to me. And if they're saying no to me, I'm being rejected and I'm out of the tribe. And I don't like that. So those fears that I mentioned, I group them in two different dimensions. The first is the dimension of others, what I expect or how I believe people are going to judge me if I do certain things. And then the dimension of self. And I don't know which one of them is more important. Maybe for some people, it's going to be the dimension of self. And for some other people, it's going to be the dimension of others. But it's very important what I think about myself. And here is where all those nasty voices in your head, the voices I was talking about before, the saboteurs that are in your head that are telling you you're not good, nobody wants your things, nobody cares about your services or your product, you're too cheap, you're too expensive, you're too this, you're too that. That the dimension of self is where these voices reside, these lying voices. And that's very important, I think, from the point of view of the mentality for selling with confidence. Okay, so let's explore a little bit the dimension of others. The dimension of others is rooted, as you see here, on the human basic need for love and belonging. And we need to belong and we need to be loved because our protection and our survival, a lot of times, ages ago, depended on that. So if I was left behind, I would be more likely to be dead. So that's why I'm very scared to be rejected. And this is always at a very primal and basic level. And because it's so primal and so basic, it's very difficult to run away from it. It's very difficult to be conscious about, oh, no, but that's only a primal fear that I have. I mean, we can do it, and that's what I do as a coach. I coach clients, I help clients to get rid of those thoughts and emotions, but it's very difficult because those thoughts and emotions are ingrained in ourselves. So the first one, fear of rejection. I want to flip it over. So let's reframe totally. Fear of rejection, what would be the opposite? The opposite would be acceptance. I accept, right? And what's the key to acceptance? The key to acceptance is no attachment. Again, going back to my, I'm going to check the time, going back to my coaching world, there's a principle in coaching, which is don't be attached to the outcome. So as a coach, I can propose an idea or a homework or a task or a question or whatever. And then I am not attached to that idea. And I consider the possibility that the client may say yes, accepting the idea, no, rejecting the idea, or counteroffer. So instead of this, I'm going to do that. But if you are not attached, if you are not attached to the outcome of what you propose, you're absolutely free. You're not needy. You have everything you need, right? So that's why I propose the principle of no attachment as something that every sales professional has to have in their head. It's okay. It's okay if people say no to you. That's not a big deal. You accept their no. And also when you hear no, you get curious about the no, because a lot of times we hear no and we say, okay, the door is closed, bye-bye, nothing to do here. And that's not always true. A lot of times a no means something else. It can mean, I don't like this particular thing about your idea, but I still have the pain. Maybe if you help me dig deeper, I will open my mind about your idea. So get curious about the no. Ask what it is in my proposal that you like. For example, they say, oh, I like the price, but I don't like the person you're proposing, or well, because I don't know what you sell, I can't imagine. But you could think of examples in your own world, what types of services or products you sell, that when they say no to you, you explore what is behind that no, what it is that you like about the proposal or the idea of the product, and what it is that you don't like. And maybe the things that they don't like, you can fix. Why not? Maybe they don't like the price. Maybe you can work that around, or maybe you can work around the price to give them a different price. or they don't like the timeline, and so you can adjust, or they don't like, I don't know, the colors of your presentation, and then you can adjust, or they don't like anything, and then you purely accept and say, okay, that's perfect. Another mantra that I always like is everybody is okay as they are. So if they say no, it's okay. They're perfect. It's not their fault. They are who they are, right? And then reframe the no. A lot of times you hear a no and there's not really a no. And I wanted to share an experience that I had recently. I was pitching my business to a large corporation, and I sent an email to the person responsible for coaching, and she wrote back and she said, oh, thank you, we have that covered, period, bye-bye. So I took that first as, oh, she doesn't need me, because she said we have that covered. And then I thought again and I said, well, anyway, that's not the way of ending a potential relationship with a prospect. So let me get back to her and see what happens. So I wrote back, oh, it's so good that you have this covered, because coaching is such an important need, especially in these days where people are very anxious and uncertainty, blah, 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 blah. So let me know if you want to hear more about how I approach coaching. And guess what? She wrote back and we had a conversation, and now I'm already in the pool of coaches for our company. And that's all about reframing what I heard as a no. Okay. The second fear of hurting the relationship. Let's flip it around. How to improve the relationship. They say no, they don't want to do business with us, but that doesn't mean that we can't further the relationship. What do I mean? I mean, become the solution. Maybe, I'm sure you've heard about trusted advisor. That's what you want to be with your customers. You want to be their trusted advisor. It's not that you want their money and then you will run away and no one will see you again. It's that you want to be there for them for the future, to continuously bring them the solutions that they need in your field, of course. So you have to show that you are the solution. This is interesting because I can't see what I wrote and I don't remember. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So identify their pain. As I was saying before in the slide about the principle of being the solution, you have to work hard in order to identify their pain, what's bothering them. And it has to be a real pain, so a real hard pain. So with questions, you're going to be uncovering that pain and make them feel that pain really painfully. So it's like you ask the question, what is your pain? Well, you're not going to ask it like that, but you uncover what's the pain, and then you keep asking questions about what will happen if that pain is not resolved. What will happen with them? Will they be able to sleep well at night? Will they be able to have enough money for retirement? Will they be able to maintain their company afloat? Any example that fits your field of where you sell. And then, of course, show that you can solve the pain. And sometimes, so as a coach, there are so many coaches out around, right? And a lot of times I found that people want coaching, but they don't want coaching with me. That's perfect. I mean, I'm happy as long as you want to be coached, and as long as you want to invest time, money, and energy in doing such an important process for your own growth. I mean, I would love to coach you, but if you prefer to go with a different coach, I'm perfectly okay with it, because I'm not attached to the outcome and I am the solution. So I'm here to help you select the best coach for you, or to help you answer your questions about coaching for you. Okay, so it's not about getting their money and running, it's about offering a solution. And that's how you improve the relationship, even if they say no. Okay, let's look at the dimension of self. I think a lot of people fear looking greedy, and of course losing the prospect. Because so what happens if you've been working on a certain prospect for a long time, and finally they say no to you, like, oh my God, you're hurt in your ego, right? The dimension of self is rooted in your ego, in what you need to do in order to survive. And a lot of times it's in order to survive in terms of your identity as a salesperson, or identity not as a salesperson, but as somebody who works and has to sell. So let's explore the fear of looking greedy. What would be the opposite of looking greedy? It would be to look generous. How can I look generous? I am free. I don't need you. I am here just to help you. And I'm so generous that I'm ready to help you solve your problem, because that's what my job is. My job is not to ask you for money because I want your money. My job is to help you. Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry about this. So the first thing we need, and I've seen that so many times, especially with women, but with men as well, it's very important that we recalibrate our worth. So our worth is not dependent on what other people think of me. My worth is dependent on what I am as a person and what I bring as a professional. So instead of thinking, oh, this person said no to me, that means I'm not worth it, I have to be grounded in my own self-worth and say, well, I'm able to provide this and that solution, so I'm worth it because this person needs my help. And this is also about who needs who. It's not you need their money. It's actually the opposite. They need you. They need your service or your product. Otherwise, it's not worth it to make the sale. So again, be willing to help. Your job is to help. Your job is not to sell, right? And what's important here about this, is that your help is really, really critical for their well-being. And if you don't think that way about the things, the products or the services you sell, maybe you shouldn't be selling those things, because it's not about playing the part of the salesperson who plays the act of, yeah, I truly believe in my services. It's that it has to be authentic. It has to be true. You have to really believe that your services, your coaching, your management, consulting, whatever you're selling, is the best thing that that person who is in front of you can invest money, time, and energy in, because your solution is going to improve their lives. And if you think that way, you stop saying thank you, because who needs who? They need you. And this is not about being arrogant. It's not about, no, I don't say thank you because I believe I'm the best of all. No, it's about, I truly believe that my service will be so life-changing for you that I'm not going to thank you for your time, because I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. In the sales trainings, the training sessions that I deliver, we do a lot of role playing, and everybody, well, not everybody, but 95% of the people in the room start their role play by saying, oh, thank you so much for meeting me today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for opening a window in your busy day. No, it's not that way. They're not doing you a favor by receiving you. You're partnering with them at the same level because you have something of extremely high value that you're willing to offer them for a price, of course, because it's a job, but it's about helping, solving. It's not about grabbing the money again. Okay, how does that sit? So finally, we are afraid of losing the prospect. We have worked on that account for months and then finally go and say, no, thank you. I don't need it. I don't need you. How do we flip it? We have an abundance of prospects. I'm sure you're familiar with the idea of sales funnels, that you have to have, I don't know, 30 prospects in order to make one sale. That's the idea. You have to build, and the more you build, the more you will receive, of course. But we're not talking about that here. We're talking from a mindset point of view, and the mindset of having an abundance of prospects is to be rich. I am rich in prospects. So again, who needs who? Do I need you to become my client? Of course not. I don't need you. You need me maybe to change your life, but I don't need you. Oh. This is super interesting. Yeah. So before I spoke about the motivational triad, there's another psychological principle, another psychological theory that's very interesting at this point, and it is the self-determination theory. The self-determination theory says that all humans want to feel competent in what they are, in what they do, to feel autonomous, be able to make their own decisions, and feel related to others. So our job in the sales meeting is going to be about helping the client to have all those three feelings, those three sensations, that they are in control, they are in charge of their own life, so they have the whole autonomy to make their own decisions. They are competent, they are an expert in that in their life, and they are related to you. They are your partners. It's not, I'm the salesperson and you're the client. I am your partner. So the first one, status tip off, that's exactly what it talks about. It talks about, if I am like you, clients, it's not that I serve you from the bottom and you're at the top. It's that I partner with you. So we do this thing together. We solve your problem together. And the status tip off is about being equal in importance, equal in status, right? So, for example, I work with a lot of private bankers, and of course, their clients are extremely wealthy people, extremely successful people who have built enormous empires of companies and money and power, right? And a lot of times these bankers feel intimidated by the power of these wealthy people. And they say to me, well, we have to make them feel that they have the power, because otherwise they are going to reject us. And what I say to them is no, because important people want to meet with important people. Important people are not going to meet with a servant, no? So you have to be at the same level with them. Of course, I mean, many of my clients are way wealthier than I am. That's not the idea. The idea is, you are important in your field, I am important in my field, and together we are going to find the important solution to your important problem. If I say thank you from the beginning, I lose all of that. Okay. Okay. Sorry about this. I was counting on second monitor. Give them autonomy. Allow them to have the last word. Of course, that's always the case, because they are always going to have the last say. They can say yes or they can say no. But when you offer your services, you can be super confident and very strong in your stance. You can say, this is the best thing you will have. And then you need to add, well, that's my opinion. How do you see it? Because they need to feel that you're not trying to overpower them. They need to feel that they are still in control of their lives and they are totally free to make their own decisions. I know that that's real, but we're talking from a very basic mentality point of view, and the brain works at a very basic level, very subconscious level. It works like that. So yeah, this is the best retirement plan you can think of, because it has this and that. It's amazing. That's what I have for myself and for my family. But I don't know, what do you think? What do you want? What else could you think about, right? And then make them the expert in the same realm of things. They are the most competent people when it comes to their own lives. You don't know anything about their lives. You don't know what works for them or what doesn't work for them, but they do, because they are the expert in their own lives. And that's what you want to leave them with, like show them then that only they can understand fully what's good for them. And this is what I wanted to tell you today. I have put here in the presentation that will be shared with you later on. Today, I have written a couple of recommendations for readings. The last one is especially about the mind and those parts of your brain that say nasty things to you. So I deeply recommend that one. And the others are about selling. So please, any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Carolina. There are a few questions.
Okay.
The first of them are, how can we prepare a pitch for a product that is already really common?
Okay. That's a very difficult one because, of course, it's about. I would like to see the camera, but I can't. Okay. It's a very tough one because when things have become a commodity, for example, if you're selling something that's very, very common and every company has one, for example, I'm thinking retirement plans or investment solutions, it's very difficult to differentiate the product itself from other products. So what you have to do is to go to those personal connections, to those personal things. What differentiates you and what differentiates your relationship to that person from the rest? How much do you pay attention to them? How much do you listen to them? As opposed to, I'm explaining all the benefits, features, and advantages of my product until their hair is on fire. No, I'm listening to them. I'm asking them what they really want and in the product that they're looking for. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yes, I think so. Thank you. Another question is, what are the common features of the best salespeople? Can you actually acquire these features?
Oh, that's interesting. Yes, you totally can acquire the features of a very successful salesperson. And I think it's all about mindset. What do you have in your mind when you want to make a sale? For example, I'm coaching someone now, and he's a very, very, very successful salesperson. I'm not coaching him on that aspect. But one of his mottos is, I don't care about money. I don't care. I'm not stingy. I am totally ready to give away money if I need it, if I need to. Right? So this principle of what I was showing before, generous, right? Like I'm a very good salesperson because I don't care about money, actually. I just care about solving your problem. Of course, I have to care about the bottom line of my company or whatever, because otherwise I'm going to be fired or out of business, but that's not the point. And another very interesting or important feature about a very successful salesperson is that they are very curious, they want to learn, and they're highly coachable. It's very, you can see that successful salespeople are all the time observing human nature, and they mimic what they see, and that reflects their high coachability. They are malleable, if you want. And yes, you can totally acquire those things.
Thank you. The last question is there any technique to deal with COVID-19 and attract clients again?
That's a very interesting question, because COVID-19 has brought so much uncertainty and so much fear that one of the techniques used, and if you read the book, Flip the Script that I have here, if you read that book, you're going to find that principle of winter's coming. So because people are, again, biased towards avoiding pain, if you talk to them about the pain that's in the future and they will have unless they solve it with your product, of course, or your service, that's going to trigger the bias to action as well. That's going to trigger their action, and they're more likely to buy. So I thought about, because I was using that before COVID-19, and then I thought, well, that's not fair right now, because now everybody is in the same mode of actually almost survival, because we don't know what's going to happen. The markets are super volatile, so everybody's afraid in a sense or another. So I thought it was not fair to use that to attract customers. And I don't have an answer for what would be fair. I mean, for me right now, what always works best is to be authentic and tell the truth. And a lot of times the truth is not very beautiful for the client. But once you tell them the truth and they understand that you are telling them the truth and that truth is for their best interest, then you've bridged that, or you've left that gap, and now you've become the trusted advisor. So maybe you're not going to gain 1,000 clients in a day, but the clients that you gain, or even the relationships that you foster at a given time, will become very durable. You will be having clients for life, as they say.
Okay, thank you very much. That was the last question. I didn't know
Okay.
if you have any additional information or anything you want to add.
No, I mean, it was a pleasure to be here. I hope it wasn't very distracting, because I don't see anything. I don't see any people on the screen, and so talking to a screen without a face was difficult for me. So I hope our listeners and attendees can forgive me for that. And thank you very much. This was a pleasure. And please reach out if you have more questions. I'm very happy to set up a call, no charge, of course. And if anybody is interested in a free sample session of coaching to explore what it feels like, I'm also happy to. My contact information is here at the bottom of the page, and I'm here to help you.
Thank you so much, Carolina, for joining us today, and the tips you gave all of the attendees. It was a pleasure. As I already mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, and as you just said, we will be sending a follow-up email, which will include the webinar recorded, as well as the presentation of Co-Lumina and Carolina's contact. So if any of you wish to, you may contact with her directly. Once again, thanks to all of the attendees for being with us today, and we hope to see you soon during our next webinars. To know more about our future seminars online, please check our website. I hope you have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.